Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Monday to get things going, especially in this post-Thanksgiving gravy haze on the road to Christmas. It's our good friend, Michael Wiseman. Michael, welcome to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Is that the name of the newest WWE Network special? The post-Thanksgiving gravy haze on the road to Christmas. The most stupendous gravy haze of all time.
Yes, and I want to wish our friends celebrating Hanukkah happy for, I think, tonight's night 2 of Hanukkah as well.
That's
so
right.
everybody's getting some love here. It's the holiday season. Grab somebody near you, give them a hug, or if you're out in public, awkwardly look at someone in a way that suggests I'm there for you, but, really probably makes them uncomfortable.
We've gotten all really good at the eye expressions, I think, in the last 2 years, right? I can communicate a lot more with these now that I can't use my mouth as much.
Absolutely. Yes. Everybody get your eye workouts in today. So
That's right.
We got a lot to get to. It's been 4 days since I did the Wrestling Inc. Daily. So much has happened in that time. Feel free to jump into the chat room like Samantha here, who says, good afternoon, everyone, as does Antonio Garcia. Hello, everyone. So formal. You don't need to be so formal and proper. Jump on in wherever you're at, just like Ian Greenwood 66, cheer 1. Okay, that one kind of messes with me. That seems like Matrixy. I don't.
Cheer 2 to you, Ian Greenwood 66 on the Twitch, no less. A little Twitch action.
We love our Twitch viewers. So wherever you're at, jump on in. Let us know what you think of the show as we go along. I have no extra audio here for today, so it is just Michael and I. We are going to do the news. We're going to dive into the mailbag at the end of the show. We're going to look at Edge's return tonight on Raw. And without further ado, let's get to it here. News you can use. News that will leave a bruise. Now, shortly after I left the Daily on Wednesday, I was cruising down the road headed to the Wintrust Arena here in Chicago to go to the Dynamite and Rampage tapings. Now, we'll get to some of the fallout from those tapings, but we're going to lead off with AEW news nonetheless. We'll start with the Observer. The Young Bucks. They recently signed a new long-term deal with AEW, and originally Dave said the Bucks were going to be there till 2026. Well, it would seem that Nick and Matt Jackson take exception to that particular bit of reporting as they took to their favorite medium, the Twitter bio section, to set the record straight, saying, contract signed emoji till 2024. Let's party for 2 more years. What do you make of this 2-year re-signing with the Young Bucks?
New bio, right? New bio. So
yeah.
I think it's interesting, and we're going to get to some more contract conversation here in a second, but just starting off with the Young Bucks, looking at where they were in professional wrestling before AEW, and I know the reports that they were kind of looking to maybe start winding down their careers and moving to life beyond pro wrestling before the AEW boom kind of happened. It doesn't surprise me that we're looking at a 2-year contract here, and I think you're going to see, just reading the tea leaves here as we do, just opining here.
Sure.
The people, the EVPs, the founders of AEW seem like they kind of wanted to get this thing off on the right foot, give it a good 3-4 year run with them in the driver's seat, and then start handing it off to the younger talent here. So I think a short-term contract for these guys. We're talking about Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes here in a minute. I think they're kind of looking at this as we're going to kind of start looking to the future and not be relied on quite as much in the same role. And maybe I would assume Tony Khan's got them a nice big fat payday or cash out term in their contract.
Well, we're at a renegotiating period now, right? I mean, a lot of people are going back to the table trying to figure out what is their value 3 years into this experiment we're calling All Elite Wrestling. So as Michael made an allusion there to, PW Torch saying there are wrestlers in AEW who are looking at their current contract situation and trying to figure out their own next move. So AEW President Tony Khan is hoping to re-sign both Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega after securing the Bucks for 2 more years. Most of the original AEW roster members, well, they signed 3-year contracts in the first half of 2019, but I do believe MJF signed a 5-year. So he is on the record as he's there under contract till 2024. Nice long-term investment with him. But a lot of other folks, I'm going to guess your Joey Janela's, your Sonny Kisses, I'm trying to think who else was there really. Your Sean Spears, there's those look to be more 3-year deals. Or Adam Page, who I'm going to go on the record as saying I think is probably safe right now.
I think so. Well, Kenny Omega here, this is what's interesting to me. These two guys are in very different positions. Kenny Omega just got the run everybody wanted him to have, right? We're a few years into this. People wanted him to have that championship out the gate. He did not, which I think was the right call looking back. Chris Jericho having a legend in there, John Moxley brought in a lot of buzz. But Kenny Omega had the run with an American title and an American promotion that was kind of driven by the fans. I don't know. And listen, we've heard the reports. He's beat up, he's injured, he's healing, all those things right now. He might have to have some surgeries. I don't know that Kenny Omega is going to have a super long pro wrestling career in the same capacity at the same level after. He will still be super talented, but I don't know that he would want to, just assuming here, right? So 2-year contract for him makes sense. Maybe he's going to, evolve into some other role for AEW, still wrestle some, be a little bit more of a senior management person in that capacity. Cody Rhodes, though, and I'm glad that they're able to hold on to him. He's got life outside of pro wrestling right now, and I think he's got those entertainment aspirational hopes that I think could be of value to AEW, but are going to continue to pull him away from the brand every week.
Yeah, so I think with Kenny, I think there's a lot of valid points there about what does Kenny's long-term future in wrestling look like as an active performer? He's not in his early 20s anymore, and he's badly beaten up. He's about to have multiple surgeries. I would imagine he's going to want to have one more run doing something Daniel Bryan Danielson style. AEW makes a lot of sense there. But, at the same time, I think the only reason that we saw the Impact Don Callis stuff is because Kenny wanted it, right? I mean, Kenny was held off for that first year. They didn't put the title on him immediately. He let, Jericho and Moxley kind of blossom there. And then in he came and off he went with his title reign. And he had a very specific vision for that title reign, right?
Yep.
And it required a lot of pieces to be working together. I don't think it's a coincidence that as Kenny Omega is going away, all of those other things are going away too, right?
Sure.
And so, if you're Tony and you look at, there were pros and cons of this whole situation. What did you think of having to go through with some of those relationships? There's a lot of pieces there. Kenny moved a lot of pieces around, and I could see him also staying with AEW one way or and that's what and basically what I'm saying is he's got other things out there that he may want to do with other players and do his own lone wolf thing. But he loves the AEW gaming thing, and I think the most money he knows he's going to be able to make if he does one more big run is AEW. So whether he resigns now or he boomerangs back in a year, I think, yes, we see Kenny resign.
Well, it's so different, too, right now because, read what you will into the reports about backstage bickering at one point and then the creative situation and how Tony Khan kind of reined all of that in. I wonder if their roles do look different than whenever they originally intended with all 4 of these men, right? Cody, Bucks, and Omega here. Omega's the one to me that the gaming thing, he's kind of driving that piece of the business in a different direction. He's got a little more hands on those stuff. He's got a touch on the pulse there. Cody, to me, is pushing it in the entertainment direction, right? But I just wonder, when you look at the contracts here, maybe they don't feel like they're quite as integral to the future of this company in a way they first did whenever they originally signed the original contracts.
And that's its own conversation. It really is. And we can get into it here today. Obviously, we've got some time. The other thing with Kenny, and I've definitely got thoughts on Cody too. I'm just trying to stay focused one at a time here. But with Kenny, we talk about the gaming, right? How much he loves the gaming. The other thing Kenny was charged with was the women's division. That was a big thing early on, is Kenny was going to be this liaison to the women, I guess, act in some kind of Finley 2.0 capacity, right? To help mold a women's division. We're 3 years in, and, as great as Britt Baker is, and there's a lot of potential in many of these women, it's one of those things that a lot of people point to as, I wish AEW did more with their women's division right now. And does that fall at the feet of Kenny? Is it something that Kenny's maybe moving away from? Is Tony Khan, with all the creative prowess he took on a year ago, is this no longer Kenny's thing? Is this all Tony's thing now? But it's worth mentioning,
It's hard to say. And I do feel like one of the things they've struggled with is getting that division launched the right way. Not that there's not been plenty of talent to walk through those doors, but it's not had the spotlight that I think a lot of fans thought it would have, and not put women in the right spot on the card at times to kind of make them feel like the main event. In a lot of ways, the way WWE has been able to do in the last few years. So again, you talk about roles changing, responsibilities changing. Where are they finding their successes? Not creatively from Tony Khan's perspective. If he reigned creative then and wanted to have a streamlined process, I think a lot would argue the women's division has not been the huge success they thought and hoped it would be. The gaming division, though, it's worth pointing out, has not been launched yet. Like, they have that GM game.
Now let's not ignore the gambling game that they put out as well. They've tried a couple mobile things out now. I haven't played the GM one. I guess that's maybe the best of the lot they've had so far.
Yeah, but that's not been what they promised. Kenny Omega has promised we're going to get that Nintendo 64 style, No Mercy style WWE or WWF No Mercy WrestleMania like experience from an AEW game that nobody else makes pro wrestling games like that. That has not come to fruition yet. And pro wrestling games by other publishers and even by THQ in recent, or not THQ, but 2K Games recent years have not been that great. So, I mean, the Impact Wrestling game, whatever it came out 10 years ago, was not very good. It's hard to make a pro wrestling game so I'm a little bit skeptical,
So coy on the gaming stuff. And then, in regards to the women's division stuff, I think Cryomancer _ Maurice here, making a good suggestion. Maybe a Maria Kanellis could be in charge. For all the disarray that is Ring of Honor at the moment, there were some real highlights of that company as they were rolling into the end of the year. I thought, if they were able to, get in front of some fans, maybe get a weekly show, I thought, there was a good product there. And part of that really good product, and one of the things that many of the people have talked about from the latest tapings that was really standing out was the work Maria was doing, working with that women's division, how engaged all the women were, how motivated the women were. And maybe taking, you got Jay Lethal, great. Maybe, looking at an asset there could help you in that other area is not a terrible idea. I think there's something to what Cryomancer says there.
There's also the idea of a woman being in charge of that division who has experience in every other company, right? But a woman in the driver's seat of a women's division, able to speak and promote in a more authentic way. I think maybe that would be a good look for AEW since they have kind of struggled in that arena in recent years.
I'm all about it. So flipping here, let's talk about Cody Rhodes then. So it's interesting, right? Because we talk about the women's division, the struggles, Brandy Rhodes saying she wants to be AEW Women's Champion. That doesn't seem to be a great negotiating line, in my opinion, going into your desires. And then Cody, look, I was at Dynamite, like I said. Mm-hmm. I watched Cody throw his weight belt into the fans and was surrounded by the atmosphere and mood as the fans were saying, throw it back, right? Really just rejecting Cody Rhodes. And in Chicago, look, are we a blue dot? Sure, right? It's a little different vibe, I think, for Cody because of some of the things he's said and done, right? But like it was interesting because like it did. I can't tell if the fans really hate Cody or they're ribbing Cody or they love to boo Cody. But either way, I don't think Cody's trying to get booed. And after the show went off the air, Andrade hit him with another DDT on the outside to a big pop, right? And then he tees walking out the tunnel ramp before going out the baby tunnel. And he's aware. I mean, like the fact you could be like so aware of that and be like, hey, these people hate me. Hit me with that other D. Like, it makes me start to wonder the 3D chess Cody's trying to play here right now. I don't know how Cody wants to be perceived. It was a wild atmosphere. I'll say that much. I see him back at WWE. Of all 4 EVPs, I could see Cody going back. I think he feels more polished and like would want to I don't know. He's just a different person than he was, and he did what you're supposed to do in Vince's eyes. You leave, you go out, you reinvent yourself, you prove you could draw. Maybe took this too far because now Vince right?
You did a little bit too much there, pal. Come on.
You do the Jericho thing, you leave, you prove yourself, you come back, and you get more respect and more money, and you're treated better because you've gone out and proved you could do it, and they don't want you to leave again, right? So of everybody, I kind of feel like Cody might be the one to wind up in WWE in the end.
I kind of agree with Chaz Shaw here in the chat room, saying Cody is definitely doing this on purpose. He cosplays as Homelander. Come on now.
Yes.
So I think it's a great call. I think Cody is ribbing the audience to a certain extent. The problem is it's showing up in the way the show is booked. I mean, he got the third match against Aleister Black and all these things. So it kind of plays itself out in a funny way. I don't disagree with you, Nick. Now, the question is WWE the kind of place that any talent really wants to go to when given the option this day and age? Maybe for the right payday, but the backstage talk and the way talents are used on screen, I don't know that it is. The difference for Cody, in my mind, is Cody Rhodes, take out the Young Bucks, take out Kenny Omega as kind of like these true indie guys and true New Japan guys. Cody always felt like the entertainer to tie them together. Without Cody, there would be no AEW, right? He kind of brought, before Chris Jericho, before Jon Moxley, Cody Rhodes was the big name with the Rhodes name. They kind of got all these pieces on the same page. But you see his reality show. You see he's done other TV work. He's close friends with Steve Amell, right? I think he wants to do things outside of pro wrestling. And in my mind, that plays a lot better in WWE than it does in AEW right now, because WWE is an entertainment company, pal. We make movies.
And you know, how is that Warner Media relationship?
Sure.
Did Rhodes to the top? Is there going to be a season 2? That's a heck of a good reason to stay with the Warner family and their AEW brand. I'm not saying anything is a done deal. I'm just saying in my head, sure, as we analyze, you know, who's going to resign and not resign. If there was anyone I could see maybe going back or doing something different, I because for all the reasons you said, he has proven he is Vince's guy, right? Like, why would you have ever let me go? I took everything you and my dad taught me, and I'm, you know, Johnny Appleseeding this thing, right? All across the country. So, and I think maybe, you know, maybe a warmer environment for him. I don't know that Cody would risk the same kind of react. If he really wants to be a babyface, I wonder if the WWE audience would be warmer to him. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe that's a completely irrational thought. I don't know.
I'd feel like, though, my only challenge to that, Nick, is I think Cody Rhodes still has some unfinished business. And I believe that part of this, what Cody is doing right now, is part of a grander plan for him. I know we have the whole, I removed myself from the title picture booking and all that stuff that happened 2 years ago. But to me, Cody Rhodes felt like the guy. Kenny Omega, New Japan world champion before, right? Young Bucks, done it all outside of WWE. Cody Rhodes has never had that lengthy main top of the card run that I think he's wanted and desires, and that he kind of has that old school mentality about. So I almost wonder if we've been pivoting towards a Cody Rhodes. I know we got to break the stipulation, but a heel Cody Rhodes can do that. And I still think a world title run with the AEW championship is in the cards for Cody Rhodes if he stays
as a heel.
Yes.
As a heel. That would, you know, and maybe that's what this has all been bubbling to, right? We have Joe McCann here saying, why would Rhodes leave AEW? Has a position of executive vice president. Great question, Joe, because as we go back to renegotiate with Tony Khan, do we get to keep our EVP titles? That is not clear to what everything I've read with the Young Bucks. I would be interested to know, does all of the same stuff stay intact with the Bucks? Same responsibilities? Did they get, I mean, I don't really know that we would find out more money, less money, but power, right? Like responsibilities, are they the same? And in 2 years, for what it's worth, and I'm not, you know, trying to make any aspersions one way or another, but that's not long term. 2 years, 24 months is not a huge extension to your contract. So,
well, especially not for somebody, a VP role implies some level of like executive decision making, future casting, vision stating, and 2 years is not a lot of time to do that. And now, and you know, you look back, you needed these guys in VP roles when this company started, not because Tony Khan wasn't competent, but it spoke to the world that we are trusting wrestlers with a wrestling business in a way that's not been done by the competition, AEW or aka WWE, right? So I get it, but maybe Tony Khan, his name is out there. People know him now. They know him differently. They don't need that anymore. You don't need wrestlers running the show.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm very interested in that. Do you get to do does everybody get to keep their fancy 3-letter titles? We'll find out.
Can I get one of those? Can you give me one of those? Can I be a VP of Wrestling Inc. Daily?
You could be you can be an SVEP, senior vice. No, SEVP.
Senior Executive Vice President of WINC Daily.
Sure. If that'll fit on a That'll fit on a business card. Make them all day. Feel free to drop them around. Put them in people's windshields. So the other highlight I wanted to feature from Dynamite was the CM Punk MJF promo battle. Another thing. It was a really cool show, and I was there with EJ Cameron, who will be here on the show tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it more. But between the weight belt thing and this promo, there were some really memorable moments on the taping we were at. Punk called MJF a less famous Miz, easily popped. That was like, if this was a rap battle, that's the out, right? That hit hardest of everything. He also said MJF would only be number one if AEW if he waited until Tony Khan had a daughter and then married her. MJF did his best to box with God here, making several references to Punk wanting to be like John Cena and generally kind of ragging him for, being overshadowed by people like John Cena and Triple H's career. But I mean, I thought Punk won the day here if this was to be a promo battle. How did you feel?
He got the crowd to do a Miz chant. A Chicago crowd did a Miz chant on an AEW show, right? I just loved everything about this. And MJF came in as the guy who can cut the promo better than anybody else in the company almost, right? He's the guy that comes out there and just gets the fans into it. It's great they're using Punk against him. It's great that we're finally getting to that point now where Punk has that fire behind him. We saw with Eddie Kingston last month. I think you had to have that kind of ramp up period, but Eddie Kingston, MJF, now we're getting the money segments we knew we would get from CM Punk if you were back in a pro wrestling ring. And I got to say, Nick, MJF came out of this looking pretty. I'm not going to say there wasn't a burial or anything like that, but Punk is the, as he put it, the senior guy here, right? He's the big dog. And I think that MJF is going to have a little bit of work. And so I'm curious to see how does this play out with the match, with a winner and a loser, and where do you take these two guys? Because MJF has been on the way up for a while now. CM Punk got some easy wins in, and I don't feel like they want to stop the momentum on either one of these guys at this point.
As much as we all talk about how MJF lost this, I thought Max held his own very, very well, considering the circumstances there, right? I would like to think MJF's going to pick up a victory here over Punk, dirty, of course, as he is wont to do, with the only one in AEW who kind of gets away with doing that stuff. But we'll find out. I mean, if Punk just rolls through another, young roster member here, I mean, are we just trying to keep it fresh for, maybe whoever's next for Adam Page, or maybe the first Daniel Bryan opponent or Bryan Danielson opponent? I don't know. It's a unique time for Punk in his book.
I mean, he did call out MJF supporting staff, and so that could be a way you kind of weave the story back in. Most importantly, what I want to give this segment kudos for is, and you're right. I mean, MJF did a great job. CM Punk is a master at his facial expressions and the way he says things kind of draw you in as a listener. But AEW did this segment the right way. They gave them 18 minutes to go out there. And it was like a long, WWE feels so produced when they do back and forth promotional things. The music hits at the right time and all these things. This felt real and authentic, and I loved it. But also, they put all 18 minutes of this uncut, straight up on YouTube, and it did really well over on YouTube over the weekend and generated a lot of extra buzz that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So just, I think, a great production element for this company all the way around.
Well, over on SmackDown, Roman Reigns, I'm going to regret saying this, doing his best MJF, right? Because now he's the one out there teasing. Maybe he's going to be leaving his respective company, as he put it, sooner than later, right? He said his days may be numbered. It was a little thing, probably something Paul told him to say. Drove a lot of traffic, got a lot of interest, felt the need to mention it. Any thoughts on Roman Reigns' little tease there?
It's interesting. It was said in a way heel-like maneuver, right? Like, I might be done with all of y'all because I've beaten everything and done everything. So I don't read too much into it other than connection with The Rock. Rock went to Hollywood. Roman Reigns already been doing some movie work. I see a very natural transition for this dude. And honestly, what else does he need to do in pro wrestling after he gets through with the next year or two anyway, right? He's the best thing in WWE from a heel working perspective right now, from a working character perspective for that company right now.
he is the most functional part of WWE at the moment, is what you're trying to say. Okay.
Yes.
I agree with that. Well, also on SmackDown, I think the thing that everybody universally got very excited about, Sami Zayn won the Black Friday Battle Royal. He's going to become the #1 contender to Roman Reigns. And then it was announced after the match, as Sami's trying to enjoy this moment, that Brock Lesnar's suspension is lifted. He's going to be at SmackDown next week. What do you make of all these things kind of floating around together, Michael?
I feel a little bit bad. Sami Zayn, did his great tirade online afterwards, but I feel a little bit bad. Sami Zayn was overshadowed by the Brock Lesnar thing because it really feels cool that he's going to get his moment here. Never kind of been given that main event run, but he's getting a little bit of that right now. Obviously, he's just cannon fodder for Roman to tide him over until we get to Brock in WrestleMania season. But I think, to me, it just feels like what we knew they were going to do. They're going to bide time until they can get Brock Lesnar back for one of their big 3 pay-per-views, maybe Royal Rumble, or maybe we're leading this up to Brock Lesnar needs to win the Royal Rumble to challenge Roman Reigns. And he's chasing Roman Reigns right now, as the babyface does.
I'm going to say something that they probably want me to be saying, but maybe they don't. I bet they want me to be saying this. But it is seeing these things all put together. Like, I wonder, does Brock Lesnar cost Roman Reigns a match against Sami Zayn to make Sami Zayn some kind of short-term Universal Champion, where an irate Roman Reigns murders Sami Zayn to take his belt back after being duped by Brock Lesnar? Brockathy?
I like it. I think I talked about how Roman Reigns has been doing some of the best work right as of late. The opposite end, Sami Zayn has been doing that as well. He's just been doing it super low key, right? He's been doing it online and through videos and on Twitter, and he's really embraced this character. So I would love to see that character paid off with some kind of run. And Sami Zayn as a wrestler deserves this, I believe, right? It could be a fun twist. I just don't know that WWE does those kinds of twists anymore like they used to. I don't know. I would love to see it, though. I would love to see it.
You got to do something, man, to fill time. And look, the belt, it's I say this with all due respect to the championship and the prestige and legacy, but it is a prop. It is something used to progress storylines. And if Roman Reigns is a more compelling character for 4 weeks as he sharpens his daggers and prepares to take back his title after being screwed over by Brock Lesnar, tell me that story. Right, it's a compelling story. That's all.
Can we give up Cryomancer Maurice here in the chat room? I think says, sure. I want Roman to lose the title at this point with him not being interesting, stagnant, and stale. And I think that's an interesting. I think a lot of fans are starting to feel this. Roman Reigns has been clicking for a while, but he's coming out and cutting the same promos and doing kind of the same things. And it's not to discount his work, which has been good, and his in-ring work has been great for years. But WWE has, as they do, they've worn out their welcome with this. And I think fans need some kind of change. We can't just buy time until Royal Rumble and WrestleMania every year. Give us some curveballs. Nick, your idea would be a great curveball to keep this thing interesting.
There are no coincidences in pro wrestling. These two things happen right next to each other. And I was like, how do these things get tied together? So also from the world of WWE, Nia Jax. Now, some fans noticed like some website named NiaJax.com, which is like a fan website, was changed to like her actual name with a redirect. And so I guess this came up on her timeline. And she wrote, "Newsflash, Lena is my real name. It's not another ring name. It's just my name. The name given to me at birth. Calm TF down, trolls. And all fairness, opponent crippler would be a solid front runner if I ever decide to wrestle again. But it's highly unlikely." So there it is. Nia Jax saying highly unlikely she wrestles again. Are we getting worked here? Or you sent some genuine genuosity.
Never say never when in the world of pro wrestling. I'm just like, NiaJax.com is like, looks like a 2004 GeoCities page of just like, I didn't know this was a thing, right? This is interesting.
Yeah, this is what got her attention, the GeoCities one. Yeah.
My first thought when I read this was, though, what does she plan on doing next? She could go wrestle on the indies, and I think lots of promoters would pay big money for a former WWE champion like her. But does she also? Everybody in WWE has entertainment hopes, don't they? Right? So I don't know. She's not done that yet, to my knowledge.
No, and she's got, she's bloodline, right, with The Rock and everything. And so maybe there's other opportunities out there. I'm sure she'll be taken care of. We'll find out here. And maybe she just wants to take some time to figure out what she wants to do and is just like working through it with everyone on social media. And that is okay too. All right,
100%.
lastly here, back-to-back parenting notes before we get to the mailbag. So the Observer saying Candice LeRae's contract's going to expire in May, but it is believed that the company is going to add at least a period of time to the contract to cover the hiatus she's been on since announcing her pregnancy back in August. If WWE does add to LeRae's contract to cover her time off, she will likely remain under contract into 2023. Now, no word on if LeRae is planning to re-sign with the company beyond the automatic extension to cover her time off for contract freezing. But as noted before, her husband, Johnny Gargano, he has signed a 1-week extension that ends December 10th. And also, as Fightful is noting, Mustafa Ali and Kofi Kingston are both currently out on maternity leave with their respective children. So all the parenting news. Any where do you want to start? I know you were kind of chuckling under your breath there, like, what is that, what's making you uncomfortable and tittering here?
I do want to just say congratulations to Mustafa Ali and Kofi Kingston. Good for them, and also good on WWE for giving these wrestlers maternity leave or paternity leave. I think it's awesome, and more companies should give moms and dads leave time to spend with their newborn children. That's amazing. I just think this Candice LeRae situation is interesting. Okay, Johnny Gargano signed a 1-week extension just to get him past the pay-per-view. It is becoming very apparent, much like his other NXT brethren, Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, he does not intend on staying here much longer. So the fact that it
would seem that way, wouldn't it, Michael? It would seem that way. And we are not
to stay longer, sign a longer contract, right? So Candice LeRae getting into 2023, that is a long ass. I don't know when her contract was set to expire, right? But that's a long time from now. That's like 2 years.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot of time. So, and yeah, I think Gargano, Kyle O'Reilly, I think 2022, we're going to see them in AEW. It's not unusual now for people to work in different companies. I don't really know what they would do with LeRae, I mean, if she wants to stay down in NXT, maybe they try out on the main roster. I'm not really sure, but whatever,
That's the interesting thing, I think, too. Like, if you're extending her contract, if we think Gargano's leaving, what is the plan for her beyond what she's doing right now?
Yeah, they don't seem to be wanting to pay people to stay at home at the moment. So they'd have to have something to do with her. So we'll see. All right, Michael. Well, thank you for joining me at the top of the show to talk all the news of the past Thanksgiving weekend. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We got a little bit more to go. Stick around here, a few more minutes. Continue chattering away in the comment section, if you please. Today's Wink Daily mailbag question comes to us from @Wink Daily, WINC Daily over on Twitter. The question: who do you want to see Edge feud with when he returns tonight on WWE Raw? Is it Big E, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, or somebody else? Almost 300 votes, 52.4%. The newly healed Kevin Owens, 19.4%, somebody else, 16.5% Big E, and 11.7% a return to Seth Rollins. Who do you want to see him feud with?
I love this idea of Kevin Owens Edge. It seems like so much fun, and the promos, if they were given the run, I mean, that's what made Seth Rollins Edge work, right? The promo work, the emotional components. Kevin Owens could bring that in a very different way, and they would have some fantastic matches. I don't know. I love it. I like that idea. It could be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Kevin Owens idea a lot. A couple Canadians, hard-hitting Canadians. I think the promos would be great. I like @Angel in Disguise. She wrote in, I could see Damian Priest is a good matchup with Edge, especially since he kind of looked like he turned heel, right? Against Boosh. Boosh. Yeah. It's Survivor Series.
Yeah, last Sunday. That was the heel turn he did so it would be interesting. And it would give Damian Priest something meaningful to do, which I like.
Yeah, and @Mark Red Believer, Bobby Lashley. Don't hate that. We had a bunch of write-ins here @JKev Gurn, Finn Balor. A lot of write-ins for Finn Balor. Seems to be a match people really want to see. So a lot of good options out there for Edge. And Daniel Price, what's that you said? AJ Styles, right? And he said every other name is pish posh. AJ Styles, Edge really kind of is a dream matchup people have really wanted to see for a long time.
Could be good, man. That's you. Oh man, that's it, man. That's what we want.
But I think AJ's tied up with Omos at the moment. I don't know how that maybe he could play into the stuff with Edge. I don't know. I agree that it would be a great match. I just don't know that the pieces are there right now.
I just look forward to them doing none of this and instead putting him in the tag team division to go up against RKO. So,
all right,
Bro KO,
RK Bro.
That's what it is.
The snake on the scooter, people. So, And Daniel Price, by the way, saying I made Hausman say pish posh. My work here is done. And you didn't have to make me say it. I would say it. Pish posh is a great word. Pish posh, pish posh. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I am a little behind on interview content and audio content, so we're going to get back up to speed this week as we get ready for the holiday season. So come back tomorrow. You have no idea what I could be presenting to you on tomorrow's show. You're definitely going to get me in Second City, Chicago's EJ Cameron. And, of course, if you like this kind of content, come back after all the big shows, including tonight after Raw, for the Wrestling Inc. podcast, late night punditry, news discussion. Subscribe to that on all your favorite podcast platforms as well. Michael, what do you want to put over here before we wrap up the show today?
Now, a lot of fun to be here on a Monday, talking a lot of AEW cool stuff. So if I've enjoyed this, thank you, Nick, for having me. I just want to shoot everybody to my Twitter at the bottom of the screen here, at The Real Wiseman. Love hearing from y'all. Love to chat about wrestling outside of this every week. Love to talk about, listen, I got my tickets to Spider-Man. So let's talk a little Marvel movies, whatever you want to. Hit me up on Twitter. I am at The Real Wiseman.
Yes, and if you want to support the show, also, I'll say go to our iTunes page, the Wrestling Inc. Daily on iTunes. We did run a Survivor Series review show. We did the retro interview with Dr. Frank over the holidays, but it doesn't do first run engagement. And so I'm really kind of pissed off. We dropped, a couple spots over on Chartable, and there's an easy fix for that. If you haven't left a review yet, go over to iTunes, leave a review. That is the fuel that keeps the Chartable machine running. We are here to work the Chartable machine and somehow overthrow it. You could be my Yoshimi. Okay. I am at Nick_Hausman. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.